everyone, my name is Dévi and welcome to Bookonnoisseur. So this is part 2 of my video series on the artist's way, and I have completed the artist's way and I'm here to talk about it with you. And this video is going to be all about my personal experience with this book. The biggest commitment in the artist's way is definitely to the morning pages. And the morning pages are 3 full pages in a journal of just nonstop writing each morning. And that was hard. That was really hard in the beginning, and as you go on, it gets easier and easier. So the journal I used was my road book, Louise Carmen. I use this every day. What I love about the Louise Carmen is you can switch out the notebook. So once I finished one, I would easily switch it out for another one. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to have found these around the same time. I think they really worked well together. My personal experience. This is a 12-week course. It's supposed to take 3 months. It took me about 8 months to get through this. And so why did that happen? I had a lot of changes that happened this year, many of which were unexpected. I am a mom. I'm still figuring that out. I'm a first-time mom. I have 1 child, and I think I was, this is my first time having a toddler. I sort of overestimated the amount of time I would have to be able to dedicate to this book. So what I would do is, if I didn't feel like I gave it my all on a certain week, if I didn't give it as much as I could have given it, I would do the week again. And because of that, it took me a really long time. I did not ever stop my morning pages. The morning pages have been consistent this entire time. I fulfilled many a journal. You go through them quite quickly, journals, it's crazy. And this is coming from someone who used to fill out 3 pages of a journal and then never touch it again. So it feels really good to finish a full journal. And then for my artist date, I talked about this a little bit, but the biggest thing I got out of this was I started going to therapy. And I had been to therapy a little bit as a teenager, but I knew I needed it more consistently once I became a mom, and I wasn't able to make that time for myself for the first few years of my kid's life, but I'm lucky enough to live close to my parents. I was able to leave my child with them for an hour or so and go to therapy. So there's a lot of breaking down of trauma in here. This is not a joke. This is some serious business. And I feel like having therapy along with this book has been extremely helpful. I found that to be the biggest block for me creatively, was a lot of trauma I had to deal with. Just a lot of confusion over how I ended up where I ended up. So a little bit of backstory. I studied art in undergrad and graduate school in New York City. I was doing pretty well up and coming while I was in grad school. I was on this sort of up and up trajectory, and then I sort of mentally started to falter. Something sort of mentally was going on in my head, and my art career just sank. I could not get in the studio. I was doubting everything I made, and on top of that, I lost the structure of school, which is a huge transition for an art career. You're not having those constant critiques, you're not having discussions, you're just very much alone and working, and I struggled with that a lot. My lack of ability to make things started to reflect on my self-worth. I didn't feel worthy of anything, really. I ended up in this very sort of deep depression and could not get myself out of it. I was sort of going through the motions of life. I got married, and of course, this is complicated. Of course, I was so happy to get married. I was so excited. I love my husband very dearly, and I became a mom. Of course, I love being a mom. I love my child unconditionally, but I did feel like I was going through the motions a little bit. I wasn't quite present. I was extremely depressed, and a lot of it had to do with my lack of ability to create. I could not believe in myself, and I sort of lost my life's purpose. And I wish I had this book at that moment. I wish I had this book in those years I was struggling. I think this would have made such a difference for me. I do wonder if I would have been able to mentally commit to it as much. I'm not totally sure I would have. Part of me thinks that maybe this book found me at the right time. What's crazy is almost like within the first 2 weeks, something clicked in my brain, and I could not stop creating. I could not stop coming up with ideas that I really believed in. I'm still working on finding the time to execute those ideas, but they're there, and they have not been there for a very long time. And I'm so grateful to this book and this journey for that. I'm so sorry about my voice. I'm recovering from a cold. I'm just so grateful. I've always been a journaler, and this book really made me fall in love with journaling again. I might continue somewhat on my own journaling, continue with my morning pages. I wanted to show you some other books I picked up to follow up The Artist's Way after you finished it. Okay, so the 2 books I picked up to read after I finished The Artist's Way were The Creative Act, A Way of Being by Rick Rubin, and The Book of Alchemy, A Creative Practice for an Inspired Life by Suleika Jawad. And I actually got to go to her tour to see this, and it was fantastic. She and John Batiste did a beautiful job. So this is a little bit more directed to artists. This is more about maintaining a creative practice throughout your life. Specifically, I think if you are in a creative field or it's a major part of your life, I think this would be a good fit for you. But if you are just what I might call a creative hobbyist, I think this is maybe the better way to go. This is a bunch of essays from different writers with journaling prompts to follow. So I think that both of these are really going to be great ways to continue growing creatively and continue my journaling practice and continue to aid in my creative journey and my studio practice, which I love very dearly and I'm so grateful to have thanks to this book. So yeah, anyone doubting themselves, doubting their creativity, doubting their art, this book is for you. And I cannot recommend it enough.